Hi, I'm Jaclyn.
And I'm Courtney, and this is Caffeinated Crimes.
So I have to know, Courtney, have you ever gone back? I know we listened to like our first episode for like a Patreon last year, maybe around this time,
Hmm.
something like that. But recently, have you ever listened to like our intro on like one of our first few episodes?
God, no.
Because I feel like we just sound completely different. Like our like intonation and like our like intro. Like I feel like we
Yeah,
have the
I feel like we were
same,
on more, we were more on edge, probably.
yeah. It just, hold on, let me see if I can find it. It's probably going to sound like shit through this. I may edit that part out, but just to get your reaction. Because, so I always go back and look at like on this day and like my like photos or whatever.
hmm
Um, and so heard one yesterday that was like one of our first recordings because we've been doing this for 4 years now, which is crazy.
which is
But it
insane.
just didn't even sound like us. I think it's this one. Jaclyn, I'm Courtney, and this is
I can
Caffeinated
hear it.
Crimes.
That ain't me.
Right? It doesn't sound like us at all. Because
Yeah. And I'm Courtney, and this is Caffeinated Crimes.
and this is Caffeinated Crimes. Like, I don't know, just I feel like now we do the same intonation every single time,
Yeah.
and we hadn't
Which
gotten
makes
our
me
groove
think,
yet.
did you guys think that was like a pre-recorded intro, or like, did you guys know that we do that every time?
Oh,
Because some people have like
yeah.
like office ladies who it's like,
Hmm.
I'm Jenna and I'm Angela and we're da da da. And it's like a pre-recorded every time it plays
Hmm.
versus like people who just like say it every time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Let us know
So
what you
which did
guys
you think
thought.
was ours? Did we keep it consistent or
I know, is it close enough that you think it's recorded, or do we sound like we're saying it live? I also feel like it would be hard not to say it because I feel like that's just how we like get jump started. Like if we just like hit record
hmm
and then I just had to like start talking out my ass, like I feel like I mean, you see how I struggle anyway when I already say my name first and listen to you say
Yeah.
your name. You can imagine how bad it would be if we just like hit record and now we're just talking. And I feel like I need that kind of like buffer to like get my brain in podcasting
hmm
mode or something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Also,
feel that.
when you said like, oh, do you guys think that it's like a pre-recorded whatever? Like how funny it would be if you just like played the piano at the beginning of every episode live instead of having that recorded. Like we
And we
just sit
make a cup
here.
of coffee every episode.
And we just sit here and you play it and then I just
hmm
pour it in.
I kind of do feel a little bit like My Favorite Murder there, where Karen was like, I don't know if I could recreate that song if I tried. Like,
Oh
I
no.
really don't know the piano part I did. I could
You
figure it
just,
out,
yeah.
but I don't know if that's, it would take me a minute.
Yeah. Also, when you recorded that, did you like, were you like was your mic plugged into the keyboard or was it like set in front of it?
No, I just set it like on top of it basically. And you can hear it. If you pay really close attention, you can hear me hitting the keys.
Hmm.
But I think that's
Gotcha.
I play piano. I know what that sounds like listening
Yeah.
for it. But yeah, sometimes you can hear me like hitting the keys. But
Gotcha. So I said we could always
basically,
try to re-record it if we want to spice it up, you know,
I would
and
have to get a converter is the problem
gotcha.
for the piano, and I don't fully know what kind of converter I would need. Like if it's the same thing that
Gotcha.
you plug like a microphone into, or I mean, not a
Hmm.
microphone, a headphone into.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's the issue. But
I gotcha. I gotcha.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah, just I've been in my memories because like this time 4 years ago we had like finally nailed the intro. We got the music down, we
hmm
got the audio, like coffee sound, we got all that stuff and like recorded our first episode. And
Which
I'm
did
like,
we ever talk about how to get the coffee sound? We tried to actually brew a cup of coffee.
did not work.
Um,
It did not.
no,
It was
sounded like peeing.
it did. It sounds like we're just starting this episode just like peeing for you guys.
hmm
Which I guess there's some people that would be into that. So yeah. But
Hey,
yeah, so
water
we
sports.
bought a lovely little sound on iTunes and we've
hmm
been going with that. But yeah, and the first I feel like we talked about this all the time, but like our first episodes recorded in like these different houses that we lived in at the time and
Yeah.
like different equipment and I don't know, just wow.
Which
It's
it
been
is
a
so
long
weird
time.
because it's coming up on our anniversary of
Hmm.
the podcast. But have we talked about how 2020 and 2024 have a lot of similarities so far with like the Super
Mm.
Bowl and the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl over the 49ers and There's some similarities. It was a
What
leap
other
year. This is a
similarities?
leap year, I
Oh,
think. Is that right? That's every 4 years,
no.
right?
Every five, right? Or is it four?
Every 4 years.
Every 4 years? Oh, wow. Okay.
So,
So should we
so,
be
so
getting
if
kind of nervous? It
this
was,
comes out on March 6th, so we'll have
which
a
is
week.
like, that is like the week of our anniversary, right? Because I can't remember
Yeah.
what,
Oh,
because
it
then
is.
it was like it was sometime in the first week of March. We should probably know the exact date, but it was somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So happy anniversary
So,
to us and to you guys and to this
yeah.
podcast.
What a time. What a time we've had. Just crazy.
You look like you were gonna say something else, and then you're just like, yeah. You just kept sitting there, and I was like,
I was trying to
okay,
think of something like smart or clever
profound
and
to say. Yeah.
but I'm drinking a lot of wine. So, with my
Courtney
gold
said,
goblet. Also, Love is Blind is back, guys.
oh,
So,
very nice. Yes, Courtney is drinking
um,
her
my gold goblet that like it has a
gold
reflection.
goblet.
Like, look at my face in this reflection. But
There's also like a,
my light.
yeah, I'm like, I don't know what it's called,
Hmm.
but like it's just like hitting off of like your gold goblet, and it's just like a
It's
halo
very
effect kind of
humbling to
thing.
sit there and look at yourself. Like I was drinking wine on the couch last night and I could just see my like self slobbed over on the couch in the goblet and it's
Well, it's
humbling.
also, I mean, like a, circular shape looking at
It
yourself in it is probably
makes
not the
it
most flattering.
worse.
Like,
It's just like all stomach. It's like, how is my head
oh
the size of a
God.
pea and my stomach the size of a beach ball? Oh, yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, Courtney said, this is an espresso. I'm gonna sit back and drink my wine because it doesn't
Yeah.
matter how drunk I get.
I mean, that's
So,
true. I do that on regular episodes too, though. It's the sad thing. But
oh gosh. Well, I
speaking of
guess,
sad things,
yeah, let's.
we do have an update. So, Lakin Hope Riley was a 22-year-old nursing student at Augusta University College of Nursing. And on February 22nd, she went for a run on the University of Georgia's campus and was murdered. A friend reported her missing when she didn't come home. And officers found her in a wooded area behind a lake, and she was unconscious and not breathing, with visible injuries that pointed to foul play. And she was pronounced dead at the scene. UGA actually canceled classes the following day. Like she was found, I think, in the afternoon. They canceled classes for the rest of the day and for the next day. And there actually has not been a murder on the campus in 20 years. So it's the
Wow.
first one in 20 years.
Wow.
A suspect was quickly identified and arrested, 26-year-old Jose Antonio Ibarra. Jose faces charges including malice murder, felony murder, aggravated battery, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, kidnapping, hindering a 911 call, and concealing the death of another.
It
So a
sounds like
lot of
they have a lot of
charges.
information about what has happened here.
Yeah. So I'm like hindering a 911 call. People are like, so did she like try to call 911 and like something
Yeah.
happened? Like they found him pretty quickly too. So
Mhm.
from what I was reading today, they don't think there's any connection. Like he did not know her. It was more
Mm.
so wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they don't know if he has like a criminal history, if this is just like crime of opportunity, like he saw her and just acted and
Hmm.
that's what happened. But very glad they were able to find him quickly before something else happened. And hopefully we'll get more details here soon. Yeah.
And just so tragic that it's like you're literally just out trying to go for a
Hmm.
run. And the fact that anytime you go for a run, you have to think about your surroundings and
Yeah.
like, but not in any way saying that she was like responsible for anything or anything like that. Just saying that we shouldn't have to constantly be worried about
Hmm.
something like this when just
And
trying to
like
go for a run.
she did everything right. It was, I think, it was on a Thursday in the middle of the day. Um, she told her friend where she was going. She told her
Hmm.
friend her route, what time she should be back, which is how her friend was able to call so quickly. Like
Yeah.
all the things like when people are like, oh, well, she did blah, blah, blah. It's like she didn't do any of those. Like she was running
Hmm.
in, from what I understand, an area that a lot of people run in and during the day and on like a campus where college classes are happening. Like
Exactly.
it's It's just heartbreaking.
It really is. That's so awful. Well, it doesn't get any better from here, so we'll just
Here we go.
get into this espressode for you guys. So our sources for this episode included an episode of Cold Case Files, which was season 2, episode 2, Devil at the Door, a couple of CBS News articles, and also some court documents. On May 16th, 1998, 36-year-old Lisa Valdez had her mother and some friends over to her studio apartment in San Francisco. She was very close with her mother, Helen, and Helen stayed over after the other guests to help Lisa clean up. And when she left her apartment around midnight, Helen didn't know that it would be the last time she would see Lisa alive. So the next day, Helen tried calling Lisa and left a few messages for her, but Lisa never returned her phone calls. But again, this is the 90s, so like if you're out and about, you may not see that.
Hmm.
So she was like, kind of weird, but wasn't super concerned yet. But she did start to become concerned when Lisa still hadn't called her by Monday. And then on Wednesday, May 20th, Lisa's job called Helen because Lisa hadn't been to work all week. So this was very out of character for Lisa, and Helen now knew that something was very wrong. So Helen went to Lisa's apartment, and when she arrived, police tape was surrounding the building, which has to just be like the most horrific moment as a mother that like
Hmm.
something is wrong, and then you get there and you see the police tape, and it just confirms every worst fear that you have.
Yeah.
So earlier that day, one of Lisa's neighbors had reported a foul odor coming from Lisa's apartment. The building manager entered her apartment at 11:50 a.m. Her front door was unlocked, and he saw Lisa's body as soon as he opened the door, so he immediately closed the door and called 911. And when detectives arrived, they found a horrific scene. Lisa's body was on the floor in front of her bed. The thermostat in her apartment had been set to 80 degrees, so the decomposition was advanced. There was a lot of blood everywhere, and there were 21 stab wounds on Lisa's body, along with signs of sexual assault. She was naked from the waist down, and there was a pair of torn, bloody underwear next to her. So Lisa lived in a nice gated condo in Diamond Heights in San Francisco. It was a very safe neighborhood. Like visitors had to be like buzzed into, each building. So this really just left her neighbors on edge after death. Like they're thinking that they're living in this like gated community, like nothing like this could happen. Just really like shook the community.
Hmm.
And because someone would have to be buzzed into the building, investigators believed that Lisa knew her killer and had let him in. So where Lisa's apartment was located, the visitor would have to like be buzzed into the building by a resident, take an elevator up, and then walk across like a bridgeway. So he likely would have been very visible to anyone else who was outside or looking out their window.
I
And
feel like
Lisa's
you'd
down
also kind of have to know the area a little bit to know how to like get there,
exactly. Like it sounds like it was
you
kind of
know?
hard to get there. Like you had to like go in and then go up and then across this like bridgeway and then the apartment's like kind of way
Yeah.
back in a corner and yeah.
Yeah, it's not like you're just like walking and you're like, here's a door. Like,
Exactly. Yeah. So Lisa's downstairs neighbor did report hearing thumping sounds above them at about 1:30 a.m. on Sunday morning. And remember, Helen had left around midnight, so they do believe Lisa's killer entered the apartment shortly after. There were no signs of forced entry, which also indicated that Lisa knew her killer, and there were no signs of robbery because her purse, money, and jewelry were left in her apartment. However, the killer had cut off part of Lisa's hair and had taken it with him. They also believe that this pointed to the murder being personal and Lisa was known for her long, beautiful hair. Lisa was very well liked and worked as a software analyst in the IT department at a large company in San Francisco. Her friends said that she was really ahead of her time with technology, that she was like emailing before anyone else knew what it was like trying to get everyone else to like get an email account so she could email them. They're like, what are you talking about? Like, what is this? No one's going to use this. Like,
yeah.
um, she met her best friend Mesa, which I apologize if that's pronounced incorrectly, at a dance class when they were 15. And Mesa said she noticed Lisa immediately because she just bounced in like a ball of light. She said that she was very fun to be around, and Mesa said Lisa was ride or die before that phrase ever came to being. And the documentary just showed like a lot of pictures of them together like over the years, and it just
Hmm.
seemed like they had a really sweet friendship. So Lisa became interested in computer technology, which is what led her to her job in IT. And she was close with her friends, her mom, and her brother. So during the investigation, detectives discovered an envelope with cash that had been taped to the inside of Lisa's front door. So, like, okay, this is kind of weird. So they look into this a little bit more and discover that Lisa had a maid who came to her apartment every Monday. So Lisa would like leave the money for her in an envelope to take when she left. So when investigators reached out to the maid to find out why she hadn't gone to Lisa's apartment on Monday, because remember her body wasn't found until Wednesday, the maid said she
Mm-hmm.
had gone to the apartment on Monday. So she got there around 10 a.m. and opened the door using the key that she had, and she saw Lisa naked on the floor and heard a man's voice. So the maid thought that she had interrupted Lisa having sex, so she quickly left. When in reality, we know that
Oh,
Lisa was dead at that time, which is just
yeah. Ooh, that's
heartbreaking.
creepy.
Yeah. Like, cause she like saw her naked and but like heard a man and was like, oh my gosh, like, because she's
Yeah,
in a
because you're
studio
probably like
apartment,
opening the
remember?
door quickly. And so
Yeah,
you're just like, oh, 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 sorry, sorry,
exactly.
sorry, sorry. Like, let me
Yeah,
leave.
yeah, because she's in a studio apartment, so like her bedroom is in as soon as you walk in the front door. It's not
Yeah.
like it would be unusual to like see someone naked on the floor of the living room. It's like, oh, I'm
Mm-hmm.
walking into her bedroom essentially. Um, so yeah, just that poor maid. The maid also remembered seeing Lisa's gym bag just inside the door, like as she was like shutting it, like her gym bag was sitting there. But that gym bag was missing by the time Lisa's body was found. So investigators believe her killer had used the gym bag to carry out bloody clothing or the murder weapon. And again, they do believe Lisa was already dead when the maid saw part of her naked body on Monday morning. So in the bathroom, the toilet seat was left up, which would be unusual for a woman living alone. So the toilet seat was dusted for fingerprints, and all of Lisa's family and friends provided their fingerprints, but there was a print on the seat that did not match any of them. There were also blood droplets on the pillow that were also found to belong to a man. So, like, okay, at least we have something to go off of at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So investigators started looking into men Lisa had been romantically involved with. So one source said like she had been dating this man, but then another said that like she was scheduled to go on a first date with him the next day. So just want to put that out there that we don't know if she like had been dating him like a few times. Like it was a new relationship either way, but we don't know if she
Mm-hmm.
had actually gone on the first date or a few dates or what exactly.
Yeah.
But his name was Albert Cato, and she had told her mom that she had a date with him on Sunday afternoon. But Albert canceled the date, saying he was out with friends until 3 a.m. So police called him in for an interview and immediately noticed that he had a cut on his hand, so they became suspicious. His polygraph did show signs of deception, but his fingerprints and DNA did not match those found at the scene, which we know with polygraphs, especially like if you've been seeing this woman and then
Mm-hmm.
now she's found dead and you're being questioned, like you might be in a heightened, state.
Yeah, you might be a little anxious during that polygraph, being like, this does look really fishy that I canceled this date and
Yeah.
she's dead now. Like,
Exactly. Which they didn't specify like I don't know if he called and left a message because we're about to talk about some messages on her answering machine as well. So I don't know if he like called and left a message and was like, "Oh, like I'm just getting home. It's 3 a.m. Like I gotta cancel our date." Like when we know that
mm-hmm.
she was probably already dead at that point. Um, because yeah, I was kind of confused about that at first because I'm like, well, if it was the next day, but
Yeah,
he was out with friends till 3 a.m. So that would be my guess is that he like called and left a message like at
like
3
left a
a.m.
message.
when he got
Yeah.
home. But either way, they determined that it was not him. So back to the messages. There were more than 20 messages from several different people on Lisa's answering machine that had been left since she had friends and family over on Saturday night. So between, you know, midnight on Saturday and Wednesday, there were like 20 different messages, which at
Mm-hmm.
first I'm like, that seems like a lot. But then you think about like how many text messages you get just from friends. So I'm like, okay, that would make
Yeah,
sense.
and I feel like it's also like the 90s, so it's not really like you can look and be like, I have a missed call. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, you might be able to. I don't really know how far the technology was, but
Hmm.
yeah, like you're gonna have to leave a message,
Yeah,
kind of. Like if you call and like you're wanting to like say call me back, like because
exactly.
I feel like I know my parents do that. My mom doesn't do it as much anymore, but she used to do that a lot where she'd be like, "Hey, it's your mom, like call me back." Like, like now she doesn't. But like whenever, first
Yeah.
kind of going on, like you kind of had to be like, "Hey, call me back." Like,
It was funny. Like my mom, anytime she would leave a voicemail, it was always, "Hey, it's me," and like the exact same like intonation every time. So like I
yes.
still have them saved in my phone. So like I just go back. It's just like, "Hey, it's me. Hey, it's me," and then just the exact same. It could be
Yeah,
like 3 years apart, and it's the exact same
exact
intro.
same. Not
um,
like us.
right. We changed
Ours
it up.
changes.
But yeah, so there were a whole bunch of messages on her answering machine. Um, So several of the messages were left during the day on Sunday, but the 19th message on the machine seemed odd to police. So a man said, "You know how it goes to Kita. Hello, Lisa. Are you home?" And it just sounded kind of weird to them. But they soon figured out this man was Albert Robinson, who was a friend and coworker of Lisa's of several years. And no, I did not get the name wrong. The first two suspects in this case are both named Albert, which is wild. But
Oh, that is so weird.
like I like thought I like miswrote it and I like went back and I was like, oh, like I was like going through the court documents after watching the episode and I was like, oh no, this lists both of these people. They are indeed Albert. So
Hmm.
just wanted to
Wonder
confirm
if that
that.
was like a common name back then.
Yeah, I don't know anyone named Albert, so
I
I
don't
don't
know
know.
anyone named Albert either.
Yeah.
Weird.
But Albert Robinson did attend her memorial service a few days later, where he gave everyone a letter that like professed his love for Lisa and talked about how they were going to get married and have a family. However, Lisa's family and her best friend said they were not dating, that he did have feelings for her that she did not reciprocate. So at your
Oof.
funeral, this man is like giving a letter to everyone there about how much he loves you. So kind of odd behavior.
Yeah.
But Albert denied having anything to do with Lisa's murder. They did find photos of Lisa all over his house, so they're very suspicious of this man. However, his fingerprints and DNA did not match those found in Lisa's apartment. So years went by with no new leads in Lisa's case. However, in September of 2010, investigators started putting together a profile for a familial DNA search for the DNA left in the blood in the apartment. And a year later, 13 years after Lisa's murder, investigators received a call from the lab that they hadn't been able to do the familial DNA search yet because when they put in the DNA in CODIS, it actually popped up an actual profile. They didn't even get
Oh,
to the
wow.
familial database part.
They were like, it was a little bit easier
Yeah.
than we thought.
Like the investigator in the documentary, she's like, yeah, they called me and said we have good news and bad news. So she's like, the bad news is we can't do this search, but the good news is we have our guy. Like,
Yeah.
so the DNA belonged to a man named Anthony Quinn Hughes. He did have a long criminal record, but nothing that had required a DNA sample to be taken until a shoplifting charge in 2011, which again is when they did this testing. So he wasn't in the database until this point.
So
So
like
in
perfect timing, literally.
exactly, like if they had done it like 6 months before, they may not have gotten anything. Um, but in 2004, California passed Proposition 69, which expanded the types of criminal offenses that qualified for a DNA sample. So this is what led to his DNA being taken after a shoplifting charge in 2011. Which also is like, it's so frustrating because I feel like in general, it's like you don't want to take DNA for like misdemeanor charges, but then you have a case like this where like
Yeah,
it ends up and you're just like, oh, this is such a hard, like,
I know.
ethical dilemma, you know?
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
tough one.
Yeah. So now they have a match to the DNA. So they ran the fingerprints again. They ran his fingerprints against. So they ran his. Oh my God. So they
Who's
ran his.
drinking the wine here?
I know, right? Good God. So they ran his fingerprints against those left on Lisa's toilet seat, and they were a match as well. So they review her answering machine and discover that Hughes had left her a message on May 18th, which was after Lisa was already dead. And Lisa's brother was pretty upset because the police only researched the callers of the first 19 messages left on Lisa's machine, and Hughes was the 22nd message. So
Why did they stop?
I don't know. I don't know if they're just like, well, we're not getting anywhere with this, so we're just gonna, I don't know.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because I mean, I know she had a lot, but I mean,
Yeah,
answering machines tap out at some point, and once it starts going cold, like just
exactly.
start. Yeah.
And that is coming from her brother. Like the 19 thing did not come from police, so I don't know if maybe he made that
Yeah.
assumption because Albert Robinson was the 19th caller, and I don't know for sure that like he may absolutely have information that says otherwise. I'm just saying I don't know for sure if that was an assumption that he made. Like
Do
maybe
we
they
know
looked
what
into it.
message he left too?
It didn't say. I don't think it was a very long one. The only significant thing they talked about was that it was left after he would have known
Hmm.
that she was dead.
Yeah, like I was wondering if maybe it was similar. It's like the Albert Robinson one where it was like, "Hey, Lisa, are you there?" or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like something where they were like, "Oh, nothing here," or
Just something so
you know,
innocuous that like they didn't even think about it. They're just
yeah,
like, oh, okay, next. I'm not sure like whether they
yeah.
did or did not research in depth past those messages. They also found Hughes' contact information in Lisa's address book, and her friends remembered her dating a guy named Huggy for a while. So they wondered if like Huggy could have been a nickname for Hughes. But at this point, they do know like, okay, at least she knew him because he left her a message
Mm-hmm.
and she had his information in her address book, which confirms
Yeah.
that she did know her killer. So when his DNA came back as a match, Hughes was transient and had no known address. So an arrest warrant was issued, and investigators started searching the areas where he was known to frequent. And they actually got lucky that afternoon and saw Hughes jaywalking right in front of him. So like perfect, and took him right into custody. Like
This is a case of like, what perfect timing.
exactly,
Like you just
exactly.
shoplift and get your DNA in there. It's a
Yep.
hit. You don't know where this guy lives. He jaywalks right in front of you.
Like beautiful. So after they took him into custody, he was interviewed by the homicide unit. So they showed him a picture of Lisa and asked him if he recognized her, and he said no. So then like they're kind of like confirming. So they're like, so you do not know Lisa Valdez? And then he was like, oh yeah, like I know Lisa, like we dated in high school. So he's like he didn't recognize her picture, but then they said the name, and he's like, oh yeah, like I do know her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he said they met at a party and dated for a while, but he hadn't seen her in a long time. They asked him if he saw her in 1998, and he said no. That he bumped into her in like the late 80s when she was in college. And then he like tells this long story about how she took him back to her dorm room and like showed him like her messed up bed and was like, "Oh yeah, like I just had sex with like six guys right here." And like Hughes said he was just like disgusted by this and like didn't know why Lisa would tell him that. Like this long story that he's telling these homicide investigators about this like interaction with
Yeah.
Lisa and how disgusted he was by the fact that she would be sleeping with all these men. So they're like, "So you have a problem
You
with
don't
Lisa sleeping with
recognize
men?"
her picture, but you remember the most in-depth
Yeah.
story about this
Mm-hmm.
woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So the investigators then told Hughes that his fingerprint and DNA were found inside Lisa's apartment after she was murdered. And then he just immediately starts crying and he asks for a pen and paper. So obviously they think he's gonna like write down a confession. But when they gave him the pen, he just starts trying to stab himself in the neck and stomach and just keeps saying, I want to die, I want to die. You're trying to pin something on me. I want to die. Like a ballpoint pen. Like it's
Yeah.
I don't think you're gonna do any damage with that, my friend.
No, I
Not
don't
without
think
like
so.
doctoring it up somehow, like more than you're able
Yeah.
to just sitting in this interrogation room. And there is a video out there of that because it was in the show of his interrogation and trying to stab himself with a
Oh
pin and
yeah.
everything. So so Lisa's best friend Mesa remembers Lisa and Hughes dating in junior high school. She said they were probably like 13, 15 years old, somewhere around there. She remembers that her mom, Helen, didn't like him. She said they broke up, but they were still friends at the time. And Mesa didn't know like how they had reconnected after Lisa's death, because it seems like she like let him in the apartment. Like she had his
Mm-hmm.
contact information. He knew where she lived. So it seems like at some point they had reconnected, but she's like, I don't know when or how or anything like
Yeah.
that. Um, and Hughes did later claim they had been friends in recent years, even though before he said he hadn't seen her since the 80s. So, you know. So 4 years after his arrest, Anthony Hughes went on trial for the murder of Lisa Valdez. He was found guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced to 16 years to life in prison. He appealed the conviction because he said the delay between her death and his arrest caused substantial prejudice to the defense and took away his right to a fair trial because witness memories have faded since Lisa's death.
What?
Yeah. So he's basically like, I couldn't have a fair trial because it was so long from the time that I killed her and the time that I had to go to trial for her murder. Because he's like, oh, people don't remember. And he said, like, he didn't remember what his alibi was for that weekend because it was so long ago. Like, other witnesses couldn't remember. So he's like, I couldn't have a fair
Yeah.
trial because of the amount of time. But it's like, that's not a legal right. Like, you can, like,
Yeah.
that's why there's a
That's
statute of limitations and murder is not on that. You can be charged with that
yeah.
at any time, my guy.
Yeah, that's crazy. Especially because like this isn't a case of like it's a bunch of circumstantial evidence. Like your DNA
Exactly.
is found in her apartment and your
Exactly.
fingerprint. Like this is proof that you were there. Like,
Hmm. Yeah. And his appeal was denied and his conviction was upheld in 2018. But yeah, I was looking into that because like he still like maintains that he didn't do it. So I was kind of doing like some like Reddit searching and stuff, and I found a few people that were like, "Oh, I don't think this guy like had anything to do with it." And like, most people attacked him and were like, "You're a fucking moron." Like his fingerprint was on the toilet seat. His blood was mixed in her blood. Like it's not like,
Yeah,
"Oh, he
and
got a paper cut at some other point and it was like on her counter away from like it was mixed in with the blood where she had been
hmm
brutally murdered. Like it's pretty clear cut as you get. And another thing that they mentioned in the Reddit thread that I thought was a good point too, was like they never like had their eye on this guy. It's not like, oh,
no.
they like nailed it on this guy and they're like, this is the guy, like we're gonna find a way to like they had no idea it was him until this DNA popped and then they found the connection to Lisa. So it's like,
Yeah.
no, this is pretty much as good as it gets.
Yeah, it's not
Like,
like they were targeting him for anything or like
yeah.
following him and stuff. It was like literally your DNA matched. Like
Exactly. Your DNA and your fingerprint. Like you had two separate pieces of
two.
identifying bodily matter in that apartment that tied you there.
And you called her and left a voicemail.
Yeah.
So you're also putting yourself at least at a point of connection to her where like
Hmm.
you would call her and like talk to her or whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the horrific murder of Lisa Valdez. And again, still have no idea what the motive was or anything because he's never confessed or given any kind of information.
Yeah, that is so sad.
Yeah, it is really sad. And like it's very strange in the interview too because he like legit seems distraught when they like tell him, which I mean he's probably like, "Oh my God, like my life is fucking over." But like he's like sobbing and he's like, "I want to die, I want to die." And like it seems like a genuine reaction, which I don't know
Hmm
if that's him showing some kind of remorse all those years later. Like maybe it was a in the moment kind of thing that I have no idea because he's never revealed anything, or if he's just like, "Well, fuck, my life's over. I just want to die now because now I've been caught for the thing I did at that point 13
I
years ago."
I do have so many questions. Like why?
Yeah.
And like it seems like he hasn't that we know of murdered again.
Yeah.
And it's just like
But it
so
was such
many
a brutal one
questions.
too. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't like it's a single stab wound, a single gunshot. Like to me, something like in the moment is, which I mean, I guess if you're in the moment enough to like rage kill someone, it could be one stab wound or 21, but 21 just seems extra
And
brutal.
like
Like,
cutting her hair and
yeah.
then like possibly staying in the apartment after the fact.
Yeah, he was there on Monday. They believe she was killed
Yeah.
on Sunday, and he was still there on Monday.
Yeah. So just
Yeah, so many
so
questions.
weird.
And like
Yeah, like
if the evidence was not two pieces of pretty good forensic evidence, I would probably be like, just based on his reaction, the fact that there's never been anything else that we
mhm,
know, all of those things. But like, I can't disagree with the fact that your blood DNA and also your fingerprint were in that apartment. Like, I mean, I'm convinced as far as that. But if it wasn't for that, I understand being kind of like, oh, I'm
yeah,
a little hesitant to, yeah, but
crazy.
just like her poor family, like I said, she was so close to
hmm
them, and then,
And so sad that like when they dated in high school, like her mom didn't really like him. And then
hmm,
it's like, is it that weird like mother's intuition of like,
yeah.
I don't know.
And then two, another super sad part when I was like reading through the court documents. So when Helen was testifying, like I don't know if it was like during his trial or before, or just like giving her witness statement, what time she was there and things like that. Basically, they couldn't allow her like testimony on record for his court trial because she had dementia at that point and like wasn't able to
Mm,
like they because I guess she got some facts wrong and stuff like that. So like she wasn't even able to like testify at his trial because like her mental state had gotten to a point where she wasn't able to like
yeah.
remember those facts. I think she was like 80 something, they said, by the time he went on trial, but just so
That's hard
tragic.
too because having dementia, it must also be hard to like remember the trial and
Yeah.
remember something's happened. Like if your brain is kind of to that point, like it might be hard to retain or like
Mm-hmm.
process those facts too. So like,
Yeah, absolutely. Just a very, very tragic case for no apparent
yeah,
reason.
yeah, that one's brutal.
Yeah, so sorry for that. That being said, Courtney, what is your perk of the week?
So my perk of the week is that when I got promoted in my job back in 2021, I had to go on a work trip to cover for someone, and I just randomly in this random city in Kentucky chose to eat at this Indian restaurant. And the way I have thought about this Indian restaurant every day since is kind of crazy. Kind of crazy when you think it's Kentucky. It's right across from like Cincinnati, so at least it's like
Yeah.
close to like a big city.
Hmm.
So I had to go on a trip and I finally got to go back up in that area and I got to have it again. And it was
Oh, the
really good. Do I
best.
think I hyped it up a little bit more in my head?
Yeah,
Yes, but it was
usually
still
happens.
really, really, really amazing because
Good.
it was one where you could like pick your spice level. So I could make
Hmm.
it spicier. I love chicken tikka masala, but it is so mild spice
Hmm.
wise. So the fact that I could have a spicy one, loved it.
Everything you've
So
ever dreamed of.
good. Everything I dreamed of. And then I remembered what I loved about it is they used like shredded chicken instead of like
Mm.
chicken chunks. Because I've had other
Yeah,
Indian restaurants that do like
the
chicken. And then
chunks. Yeah.
after a while, I kind of get the ick a little bit because there might be that one little piece that's like,
Oh
eh.
yeah. I much prefer shredded chicken to chicken chunks. Like
Yeah.
chunked meat, I struggle with. I struggle a lot with chunky meat.
Yeah, especially if I'm not like cooking it. Like if I'm
Yeah.
cooking it, like I know what it looks like.
Yeah.
But like sometimes when it's like in a sauce and stuff, you don't really know.
What you're biting
Yeah.
into. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a shredded chicken and it was like a spicy and it was so good. And I get to go on a work trip again this week too, but I kind of did forget how much I love to just sit in a hotel room by myself.
It's the best. Like it is
And
just
I
top tier
feel like
relaxation.
it really is. And like I don't have kids or anything, so I shouldn't feel so amazed by it. But just like literally like I laid in the hotel room. I got to watch Vanderpump Rules like as it aired, which sucked because there was commercials. Just kidding. It didn't suck, but the
Yeah.
commercials were sucked. But and then I was laying there and I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm just kind of tired. And I pull up Netflix and I watched Crossroads. So
Beautiful.
have you seen Crossroads?
A long time ago.
I hadn't seen it in a while. It kind of holds up.
Okay, I'll have to rewatch
Britney
it.
Spears' acting is not that bad.
Good to know. Good to
Is
know.
the plot and the script? Eh.
You know,
But I mean, I think she's on par with the other two
true.
well-known actresses.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
I remember liking
so
it when I watched it, a million years ago.
yeah.
So
I
I
still
have to
really
rewatch
enjoyed
it.
it. I had a good time. It was fun. It was a good watch. Especially just to kind of have like a lighthearted, you
Yeah.
know,
Much better
movie.
than
But
researching a murder in a hotel room while you're in a hotel
yes.
room.
Yes, literally, guys. I sat down and I started it, and it was like, oh, this guy found murdered in a motel room. And I was like, oh, like,
Like,
thankfully,
I'm gonna save this.
at least it wasn't like someone like on a work trip. You guys will hear it next week. You'll see what I'm saying. But it was like odd circumstances kind of thing,
I
not just
gotcha.
targeted, but it
Hmm.
was still a little too eerie for my
Still too
taste.
close to home for,
Yeah.
yeah, gotcha.
Um, but yeah, so that is my perk of the week because it's so nice once you've been thinking about something
Hmm.
a lot. I mean, it's been a year and a half, 2.5 years.
Minute.
Wait, this was 2022. Did I say 2021? It was 2022. So a year and a half. Anyway, okay. So that is my perk of the week. Jaclyn, what is your perk of the week?
So my perk of the week. So I've been doing this like homeschool preschool curriculum with my 2.5-year-old.
I meant to
And
ask you what letter we're on.
we're on N for nursery rhymes this week.
Nice. Did
Yes,
I miss a
yes.
letter? We've done A, R, and N.
Correct. Yeah. So each
Okay.
letter is 2 weeks. Yeah. So we're starting our fifth week of it. So Courtney is very invested, as you can see. So
I like to know what they pick for the letters.
but it is just it's so well done. Like I really enjoy it. Like it's
Hmm.
designed, like I said, to be like a homeschool curriculum starting at like 2.5. So it's not like super intensive. Like we're not, like writing our letters and doing all this like, you know,
Hmm.
kindergarten type stuff. Like it's just like play-based stuff, but it's a lot of like color sorting and like different like learning letters in like different ways. So like last week, one of the activities, like we have like a little like whiteboard. And so we've been working on uppercase and lowercase letters for each one. So I did a bunch of like uppercase and lowercase A's and R's just like mixed all throughout. And then I had to like call out one and she had to like erase it. So she had to like find it and then like erase it. So it's just
Hmm.
like fun activities like that, you know? Um, And there's like two activities each day, and there's like a letter for like a 2 week period, and then you have a book that you read each day. So, of course, we've been going to the library a bunch so we can get all of our books for our units and all that good stuff. But it's called Playing Preschool. So it's when I got it, it was like $30. It was on sale. I think it's usually like 40, 45 or something. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
9 month curriculum. But we just love it, and we're just having such a blast with it. And it doesn't take up so much time that I can't do it like while working remotely with my toddler. It's not like you need
Mm-hmm.
like a full like school day to be able to do it or anything. And the creator of it, her name is Susie. She also has an Instagram account called Busy Toddler. So she does a lot of like toddler activity, ideas and stuff like that. So if you have little ones at home, definitely check it out because it's got all kinds of fun stuff. So her Instagram account, you can find all the free resources. And of course, if you want the curriculum, it's still, very affordable. So we've just been having a blast with it. And Millie loves
I bet
doing
that's
preschool, she says.
doing preschool.
Well, can we
I
do
bet
preschool
that's
now?
I bet it's helpful too, because I'm sure you get to the point where you're like, what new can I do with my child?
Yes,
Like
exactly.
I don't want to like, like it's kind of hard to think of things like on your own sometimes to
Yeah.
be like,
And
what
it's
do I
like
do?
And it's like we've done all the basics of like she knows all like letters, numbers, shapes, color, like all of those things. So I'm like, okay, like what do we do now? So like this is really like kind of like a deeper learning, like based on those core, concepts, but like
Hmm.
in a fun way where it's not like she's like, oh, I'm doing flashcards. Thanks, mom. Like it's like very fun,
Yeah.
like interactive stuff. And one of the fun activities that we didn't get to do last week that I got to do this week because we didn't have any baking soda. But you do like a muffin tin, you put like the food coloring in like different ones and then like baking soda and then they spray vinegar in there and then it like makes the color appear. And she's gonna have
Oh,
so much fun with that. And then I went to make
yeah.
it and we were out of baking soda. So I gotta buy baking soda so we can get caught up on that activity that we missed last
Yeah.
week. But she's gonna love it. And she just has so much fun with them. Sorry, I know I've been talking too long, but one of the activities that we did for the color unit that we just finished was like mixing like the primary colors. So she now knows like how to get all the like secondary colors from
Oh,
mixing the primary
nice.
ones. And now we have to do food coloring in the bathtub every single night. Like, made the mistake of doing it for a one-time activity. Like, oh, we're gonna have food coloring in our cups. We're gonna mix and we're gonna see what color they make, and we're gonna dump it in the tub. And now we do it every night.
Yeah, I
It's been
know
2 weeks.
Ashton has to do a lot of glow sticks. She has glow
Yes, she
sticks in the
told me that
tub
too. Yeah, she said she
and the
also got some bath
lights.
lights. Yeah, so I was like, oh, we
Yeah,
need
I
to
think
find
Katie got
those.
her those and she said it
Hmm.
like really elevated the bath experience for
Yes,
Amelia.
she said they have some bath rays going on, so it sounds like a good time over there. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
get some lights to go with our
Unz,
food
unz,
color.
unz, unz.
So anyway, tell us about your food that you like on work trips, your
Hmm.
preschool experiences, your bathtub experiences. Don't get too far into that. Just, if it's a surface level cute kid story, that's about all we want to know.
Yeah.
Um, so you guys know where to find us on all of the things. It is in the show notes. Of course, as always, let us know your thoughts on this case. Send us any recommendations that you guys want us to cover. Um, Most importantly, we are also on patreon.com/caffeinated crimes, where you can get monthly bonus episodes. You can get a pin and a sticker. You can get some gifts. You can hang out and talk with us on Discord. Just all kinds of fun stuff going on over there. Some video
Yeah.
episodes we haven't done in a while. We need to get some of those back up. But if you want like a video unedited episode, because we're not great at video editing and don't want to spend the time on it, if
Hmm.
you want to see the behind the scenes of recording
Yeah,
this
I mean, we
podcast,
have, at least I have most of the backlog
yeah.
of,
We could
because
pop
I
them in there
don't
anytime.
delete anything basically. It just goes into a folder onto my computer. So I have them all backlogged of the ones I've recorded.
Yeah.
So yeah, and if you guys wouldn't mind to please give us 5 stars on Spotify, Apple Podcast. If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, leave a nice comment, just leave a little heart, get some interaction going, anything like that would be greatly appreciated. But in the meantime, go have a cup of coffee.
And don't commit a crime.